welcome to episode 134 of the This Old Knit podcast. And I'm planning on this one being a little bit different of an episode. Let me scooch. There's some weird lighting going on right now. I wanted to record a 2020 year in review episode so that I could share what I've made for this year, and my list is over there, so I'm already super organized. Yeah. So essentially throughout the year, I wrote all of my completed objects onto this lovely piece of paper right here. And at first I started it because I wanted to see how many sweaters that I could make in a year, and then it just became a little bit of a lifeline in 2020 of when I was working from home, which I was privileged enough to be able to do. I could kind of take a break and look at this and say, hey, I'm doing something. All other plans for 2020 were essentially thrown out the window for all of us. But anyway, at least I kept track of all of my FOs, and now I'm able to share them with you in chronological order of how I completed them. More or less. Joshua's socks I only have on one line. I finished 4 pairs for him. I don't have them all because they're kind of dirty and all over the house. So for those, they're the one thing that are going to be a little out of order. And there's one I added on at the end that I realized I did, and I forgot that I even finished it. So I didn't have it on the list. So it's on the list now. So that's going to be the last one I show, but I believe I finished it sometime around April or maybe May. So yeah. That's what I'm going to do today. So it's going to be a little bit of a different episode, not a full podcast episode. I'm not going to share any whips that I'm doing right now. I will very quickly say that if you finish something for the Mohohi Cal or the Stash Your Shelf Challenge Cal, I'm going to leave the thread open for a few more days, really through tomorrow. And then Sunday, I would like to lock the threads and draw the winners so that before I'm going back to work, I've got that all squared away. I am not sure yet if I'm going to do the Stash Your Shelf Challenge for this year. This was the 3rd year that I've done it, and yeah, I don't know how people are feeling about it. I'm definitely not going to do another like one designer type cal or 2 designers, because I feel like we had very few finished objects for the Mohohi Cal, despite both of them being very prolific knitters. And I tried to do like a mix of styles as well, because Joji Locatelli does a lot more of a varied, well, really Andrea Mowry does well. Anyway, didn't work out, that's fine. So what I'm thinking of for next year's full year cal is doing what I'm going to call the long-term MAL. And the idea there is to tackle something that you have wanted to do, but it's a larger time commitment. Maybe that scared you off, or maybe you've started it and you've never finished it. It can be any craft. It doesn't have to be knitting or crochet. It can also be sewing. So a couple of examples of what I am thinking of doing is I want to finish my mitten advent calendar, which is like all the tiny Fair Isle mittens. And I would like to sew a quilt for our bed, which is a king size bed. So that's going to be a pretty big thing. And I may make a smaller one for one of the kids' beds to, try out my techniques before I switch over to doing a big one for us, but that's probably going to be something I'll do like little bits here and there throughout the year with the idea of finishing it at the end of the year. So I think with that, like things like socks, hats, baby knits are probably not on the table unless if you're doing like a baby blanket, and maybe it's a more complicated baby blanket. So there are definitely some people knit a hap shawl for a baby blanket, or they knit like an intricate Fair Isle or all over color work. I shouldn't say Fair Isle because not all of them would be Fair Isle, but an all over color work pattern. Those, yeah, sure, that's probably going to be more of a long-term thing. But like any of the scrappy blanket projects, sweater, especially if it's your first sweater, it's quite a commitment. At some point, I'd like to sew a coat for Josh, the Albion coat, so that would count. Whips are allowed, as always with my cows, and especially in this case, because if it's something you've already been working on and you want to have that motivation to finish it, hopefully this will be a great motivator. Yeah, so let me put this back in here. Sorry, I had my remote out from my tripod. This is my first time using my tripod as well. So that's the long-term Mal. And then I still have the unicorn cowl running until the end of January. I'm going to talk to Meg. I'm co-hosting it with Meg of the Bad Wolf Girl Studios and Bad Wolf Girls Sits and Knits podcast. But hashtags did not work for multiple months of the cowl. I think we started it like the beginning of November, and it was supposed to go through the end of January. But hashtags on Instagram have just started working again. So there aren't that many projects that have been tagged with the hashtag. Maybe we can extend it through February. Yeah, I'll talk to her. But for right now, it's the end of January for that. So anything unihorned counts for that. Or unihorned themed materials. I'm hoping to finish my last unicorn sweater before the end of January, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's dive in because this is going to take a long time. I have made 26 things this year. This is not one of them. I specifically did not wear any of the sweaters that I finished, so I'd be able to show them all to you, not on my body. This is the French toast pullover knit out of Gaia's Colors Fiber Arts in the Fulta colorway. I made it a few years ago. I love it. It was the second sweater I ever knit for myself. 2 thumbs up. She doesn't dye yarn anymore, but if you can get it in D-Stash, it is amazing and wonderful. Get it. All right. So first thing that I finished last year. This is my first podcast of 2021. Welcome to 2021, everyone. Okay, let's pull this Mondo box up here and start digging. Stuck on my sweater. All right, the first object that I finished was a pair of socks. They are the it's by Oh Fancy Pants, Emily O'Grady. Slip stitch pattern. I don't know, check my Ravelry page, or if you're interested, I'll put it down in the box below. But they are knit out of the Cheers colorway from Jinx Yarns. I cast them on New Year's Eve 2019. Yeah, 2018 for 2019's New Year, and then I finished them 2020. January of 2020. So they took me a year to complete. They just sat in a bag. So this was the first thing that I finished for 2020. I used some Crafts Meow in the I think Evergreen colorway for the heels and toes. Gwen is dyeing yarn again. She and I were co-workers long ago in San Francisco. before she became a yarn dyer. So it's lots of different colors of festive drinks. They're supposed to be, you know, champagne, beer, mulled wine, cider, hot chocolate. They're really pretty. They have been washed, but everything in my house now has a little sparkle from Adafur. So they are clean. They were just out of my drawer, but yeah, there's always white fur, and that is my life now. So my cheers socks. Finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 was the Seedlings Greetings shawl. I still haven't woven in the ends on this shawl, but I wove in enough of them that I can wear it and they don't show. This was a test knit that I did for Ellie, who is Skein-Anigans, and I used the Advent calendar from the Yarn at Home Mom from last year, along with 2 leftovers of Wool and Vine yarns that I did projects in. So one is Weep, and the other one, I don't remember what it is. But this one I used for my sparkling cider hat. So I had about half a skein left. So it calls for 1 full skein of a color, and then you can use an Advent bundle for your minis. So I have half of each of these minis still left because hers were 20-gram minis. Boy, that's really gonna bug me that I don't remember what the light gray is. So it's a nice big semicircular shawl. It's a half pie shawl if you're interested. And I kind of like that you've got, you know, all of this visual interest going on, and it gets nice and snugly up on your neck. And when it's in my coat, you can't see all the ends. I will work in the ends eventually. I will do it, but I haven't done it. So there you go. Seedlings Greetings shawl by Ellie, Skein-Anigans. Mini skeins from the Yarn at Home Mom, and main colors from Wool and Vine yarns in the Volca base. This was left over from my Half Moon Oracle shawl. So yeah, sparkling cider hat, Half Moon Oracle shawl. I had half a skein of each, and I used every single bit that was left. If you want to know how I store my shawls, I fold them in half thusly, and I roll them into like a sushi roll. Like this. Then I whack them in half and stick them in a drawer. It works really well, and they stay blocked that way. So that was finished object number 2. Finished object number 3 was a test knit I did for Kristen of Wool and Vine, and it is the Callan My Cowl. I knit this out of a one-of-a-kind colorway of her yarn called Beach Bum. It's a really old skein that I had on the Volca base, and I held it double with Toad Hollow yarns in the That'll Do Pig colorway. My beads were from Earth Fair Beads. So it's all over beaded. And they're like some sort of little translucent pearly beads. I wear this constantly when I walk Ada. It is the best. And I wear it like a snood. So I kind of put it over my head, and you can either wear it, you know, like this. So it's kind of a scrummy little cowl, or you can put it up like this, which is what I do. So I have a hat on, and then I have this over top of it, and then I kind of cinch it in with my coat, and I walk like this. And it is so warm, and I don't care what I look like because I'm in my driveway, so who gives a crap? And if 2020 taught us anything, it's to not give a crap. We're still here. We're still okay. Take it. So that was my next finished object. Then I did a test knit. This is the year of test knits. I did a lot of test knits in 2020. And it was super fun. For a lot of different people. I had only, well, was it anybody really new? I'll have to think about that. Maybe not. So I test knit for Kristen, Mina, Meg, Selma. I think that's it. Yeah. So I had test knit for all of them in the past, but it'd been a while for a few of them. And I finished all my test knits this year, so yay. Anyway, my next one was a test knit for Mina Phillip, who is knitting expat. I knit the Little Forager sweater. This was a sweater for Joshua. He was into it at the beginning of the pandemic, and he's gone back into sweaters are itchy and I hate them and I'll never wear them. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you mode. So he doesn't get any more sweaters, but I'm hoping before he grows out of all of these that he will go back into enjoying sweaters again. I don't know. He does love socks though. He loves hand knitted socks till he's mad at me and then he tells me that he won't wear my stupid socks. All right, so Little Forager sweater. I used Broco Vintage for the main color. This was yarn that I had from my Aunt Lynn's stash. Just in a blue. I don't know the color number, but they have numbers, not color names. All of the contrast colors are Spud and Chloe Fine, or yeah, Fine, which is like their sock weight, held double. I know this one's Goldfish, this one's Grass, this one's Ocean. I think this one's Sunflower, and I can't remember what this one is. Cayenne, maybe? But it's red. So I wanted to have a rainbow. This was inspired by a pack of pens that I had that Joshua saw, and he said, that's what I want my sweater to look like. So it was like the little caps. So they're all black, but on the end they had what color of ink they were. So basically, this is all the colors of those pens. I think it turned out super cute. I definitely would knit this sweater again. I have the adult size and I really would like to knit it as well for myself. I think I will knit mine with a gray body, and I also would like to do rainbows because I really like the rainbow on it. But I made a nice large size, so it should fit him for probably 2 more years. So fingers crossed that he will enjoy it. I almost got him to wear it for picture day, and then he decided last minute to wear the same one that he wore for our family pictures, which was Flax Light in Gnomes of Dove and like the coordinating gold. But the picture people did not like dress the shirt he had on underneath, so it's got like all this t-shirt showing. It's very annoying. I'm irritated. That's gonna fall off before very long. Okay, so that was my next finished object. Then I started doing sweaters for me. So I knit quite a few sweaters for me this year. I believe I did 12, but I might have done 11. It was a lot of sweaters for me. I'm gonna stop and take a drink before we start this. Will I remember all the colorways that are in these sweaters? Probably not. There's also packing material in here for me. I grabbed the Lego box because it was the right size. That's what I'm pulling things out of. The box that the Legos came in. Okay. God, I don't remember what that last gold color is. It's one from Kristen. Big Bash. It's Big Bash. Okay, I do remember them. Ha ha! Yes. Okay. So then the next sweater I knit is the So Faded by Andrea Mowry in yellows. There are 4 different dyers represented in this sweater, and yeah, I really like this one. I made it short sleeves, so it's more of a spring sweater, so I have not worn it since the spring/summertime, but it's nice to have a couple of knitwear pieces that I can wear when the weather gets warmer. So my colorways that I used are Life in the Long Grass in the cushion colorway, Bad Wolf Girl Studios in Beauxbatons, Adelaide Cottage in I'm Ready to Wallow Now, and Wool & Vine Yarns in Fig Bash. So those were my 4 colors. I like this one. It was a nice subtle fade, and it's very nice and springy and pretty to wear when it's starting to get a little warmer. I also store my sweaters this way, and they stay nice and don't have seams and all that jazz. Okay, so I finished a yellow So Faded. Then I did another fade with the Sperry sweater. This one gets a ton of wear. It is a very warm sweater. I love the colors, and you know, a lot of good memories in this one. So this one I finished like as the pandemic was starting to get intense. So it's almost like a friend hug for me. Yeah, and I really love wearing it. So it is this Sperry pattern by Amy Miller. I did not do the split hem. The original one I did does have the split hem, but I kind of didn't like working it, so I just did a normal ribbed bottom. I also used a smaller size for the neckline, and then I kind of increased to my bust measurements. So from the top, it is Tiptoe? Yeah, Tiptoe from Wool & Vine Yarns. The whole thing is held double with the previous yarn engagement on the fig base from Plies and Hellhounds, formerly Once Upon a Corgi. And then I used 4 colors of Wool & Vine Yarns underneath. So Tiptoe is the top one. Then Jilted Rose, number 1. Jilted Rose, number 2. Fudge. I'm not going to remember all these colors. The special colorway. God, it's like the dog chorus outside. Boy. Morgana? Yeah. I know I have 2 colors of Jilted Rose. So I have Tiptoe, Jilted Rose, Morgana, Jilted Rose, I think that's right. I don't know. And then, like I said, previous yarn engagement through the whole thing. This one right here was the Strange Brew Yarn Club. One of the colors for Strange Brew Yarn Club is this color. And it has like some light orange and brown speckles in it. It's really pretty. And then this is the darkest color of Jilted Rose that I had. It turned out great. The previous yarn engagement really like blended everything nicely. I get a lot of compliments on this sweater. And like I said, it's like a warm, yarny hug. I love it. And it has yarn from 2 of my besties in it. Okay. Then I did the green So Faded sweater. So again, patterned by Andrea Mowry. This is probably my most knit pattern. It's a very very few patterns I've knit more than once, and I think I've knit this one 6 times, 4 of which, white, green, yellow, peach. Yeah, 4 of which are still in existence. Some of them have been frocked because the fates didn't work out. But this is my green So Faded. It is in Neptunia from Wool and Vine Yarns. Again, these are all Wool and Vine Yarns, I think. Yes. Neptunia, Geode. This one's like unnamed. Yeah. Yeah, it's some kind of like unnamed special color. But I thought this really reminded me of like the Water Lilies painting. I really like this one. It's super springy, and again, I made it with 3/4 sleeves so I could wear it in the spring and fall and really winter. So it's in almost all seasons in Connecticut, and really a lot of summer too. Because in summertime you can get away with sweaters and shorts here because it gets cool in the evenings. So that was my green So Faded. Then I did an everyday lined hat by Denise Bayron. It was Bayron Handmade on Ravelry and Instagram. So I used some Swans Island Organic Merino in the Fig colorway. It's like naturally dyed yarn. I had this skein of worsted in my stash for a really, really long time, so it was nice to get it out of my stash and have a hat. I do have a pink pom-pom to put on it, but I haven't done it yet because Joshua loves to borrow this hat, and I don't think he would care for a fuzzy pink pom-pom. Maybe he would, I don't know. I lined it with some leftover jersey fabric from one of the dresses that I sewed, and I really like it. So it fits really nicely onto my head. It's really warm with that lining. It seals off all of the wind, so I don't know if others experience this, but when I wear my hand knits out and the wind chill's really bad, tends to like go through the holes in the knitting that are natural to the fabric of knitting, but adding that extra lining really fixes all of that. So this is the one that I grab when it's super cold outside, and it keeps my head super warm. And like I said, it fits the children as well, so that's nice. It's kind of an everybody in the family hat. They all love it, which is why I made one for the Christmas time. Next, I did the Vintage 83. This is another summer knit. This was deep, deep, deep stash, like pre-moving from California. So I think 2007-ish stash. It's Knit Picks Rosada, which is a discontinued base from Knit Picks. It was a cotton elastic merino blend. Mostly cotton, like probably 60% cotton, and then there's like the elastin and merino, so it's very stretchy and it's very cool. So this is another pattern by Andrea Mowry. It's an all over textured pattern. It is Eye of Partridge all over the thing. So it's like Hermione's Everyday Socks has the Eye of Partridge heel, but it's Eye of Partridge all over the body. And then I made a deep ribbing on the bottom, and I used 3 contrast colors of Knit Picks Rosada. This is Sage, Navy, and Cocoa. I used every single bit of my buttermilk, which is the main color. I maybe have like a teeny tiny like 10-gram mini left of buttermilk. I have about half a skein each of the Sage, Navy, and Cocoa. I might have enough to make summer socks for Joshua with each of those, and that's what I might do. It is great sock yarn if you can get it on D-Stash. I have 2 pairs of socks out of it, and they look as good as the day that I knit them, and I knit them in 2005 and 2006. They have been washed incessantly. They've been dried. They're great. It's a great yarn. I wish they would bring it back. But I did stock up a lot when they were discontinuing it. So that is my Vintage 83 by Andrea Mowry. I love this sweater, and I have cast on for the Junction because I love this sweater so much. But I've only gotten this far. Just the folded over neckband. But it's gonna happen. Okay. So then I switched over to long sleeve sweaters, and I knit the As You Like It sweater by Sally Jane Cameron. This is my second one of this pattern as well, and she now has a cardigan pattern. That's the As You Like It cardigan, and that is on my to knit list as well. So for this one, I need to trim some pilling on it. I used some Stash, because my first As You Like It has this same colorway in it. This is Pumpkin Kombucha from Volan Vine Yarns, and this was like the beginning of when she dyed that colorway. She does still dye it, but it is considerably darker. So Kristen dyed me another skein to do the bottom stripes on this, but it was a lot darker. Which is totally fine. I used it for another finished object that's in here. But that just changed what I did with the sweater, and that's okay. So this one is Pumpkin Throne from Plies and Hellhounds. This is Grim on Blitzed, which Kristen no longer dyes on that base, but it's a sparkle base. She does still dye this colorway though. It's a really, really pretty charcoal gray. And then, as I said, this is Pumpkin Kombucha. So what I did is I got to the bottom and I just made a long ribbing. So this is all of my Pumpkin Kombucha, like literally every yard is in this sweater. And when I ran out, I switched to Grim and just did the bottom ribbing. And it's totally fine. It just looks like, oh, I wanted to have all of my cuffs matching. I love it. I did not make any modifications to this sweater. It has side garter panels. I guess the only modification I made was completely by accident because I worked the side garter triangles wrong. I didn't do the, they're supposed to be like plain rounds between your growth of the triangle rounds. So I had to kind of stop making the triangle any bigger when I got to the bottom, or it would have met in the middle of my sweater. I did not do that on the first one. I worked it correctly, but it's fine. It's really subtle with the with this color. It's super subtle. So now it's rolled over to a new file. I still have some footage I need to edit from Vlogmas. There will be one bonus episode of Vlogmas that will include Christmas, some miscellaneous ramblings, and some other things I recorded like after I finished my day 24. So yeah, I need to get that edited and off my phone because I have a lot of footage on my phone still. That was my As You Like It. I'm halfway through. Oh no, I don't have my Hinterland. Ah! Okay, let me go get that. Pause. Okay. So my next finished object was the Hinterland sweater by Jennifer Steingass. That is an end that is worked in, but it sticks up when I'm showing it not on my body. So this I knit out of all Plies and Hellhounds yarn in the background, and excuse me, the colorway that I used is Heap Herd on the Isaac base. Good grief, I haven't talked this much in a while. Except for work calls. So it is on the Isaac base in the Heap Herd colorway. So it's like a maroon with speckles of black and dark purple, because Reese, black and dark purple. And the contrasting color is Fox Hill Farms yarns on their Cormo base. It's an undyed Cormo, so it's cream. Modifications I made to this, I didn't do like there's little icicles off the ends of these little things. I couldn't do that because this was already like at the bottom of my winglings. So it would have kind of stuck my arms to my body. So I took that off, that motif off, and just started the bottom. I also added waist shaping, very subtle waist shaping, and on the sleeves I took off the little snow leading into the sleeve motif, and I didn't do a rolled hem on the sleeves. I need to rip out this bind off and add probably 2 or 3 inches more of ribbing onto the sleeves because I want them to be longer. They pull up and I don't like that. I intended for them to be full-size sleeves. So I need to fix that. I have plenty of yarn left over from this though, so no problem there with doing that modification. I alternated skeins except for up in the colorwork part. I usually don't alternate skeins there because you're already alternating with the other color that you're doing, so it kind of helps break up any pooling that you might have. But you can tell it would have pooled had I not alternated skeins. And I stopped alternating skeins on the bottom ribbing and realized it was flashing on the bottom, so I went back and ripped it out and alternated skeins like I should have done in the first place, because I did the whole sweater and then I just crapped out on the bottom. But yeah, I love everything about this sweater. I wear it all the time. It fits perfectly. I want to knit more Jennifer Steingast patterns, who is Knit Love Wool on Ravelry and Instagram. This year, I would like to knit several of hers. I have some DK yarn in Plies and Hellhounds that I want to knit the Starfall one in. And then their Drama, I think, is the other one that I really want to knit that I have all the yarn for. So those are 2 of them. I have Garden Gate cast on in Lola Bean Yarn Company and Lavender Loon Yarn Co. So definitely going to be some more Jennifer Steingast patterns in my future. So that was the Hinterland sweater. And then I got that pumpkin kombucha skein that was too dark. So I thought, well, I'm gonna make lemons out of lemonade here, and I made a Halloween sweater for Joshua that he doesn't wear, but it's really soft. And again, I made a really large size, so it should fit him for a while. His old Flaxlight he is really growing out of, so he needed a bigger size, and he wore Flaxlight all the time till I finished this one, and now he wants nothing to do with it. So this is the pumpkin kombucha that Kristen dyed for me to finish my sweater, and I alternated with a skein of Leading Men Fiber Arts in the Love You to Pieces colorway, which is like a Reese's Pieces tribute. So you can see with the speckles that they're all the colors of Reese's Pieces. So yellow, orange, and chocolate brown. It's so cute. It would look so good on him. It makes me sad that he doesn't wear it. But this is the Flaxlight pattern by Tin Can Knits. I've knit it twice now, both times for him. I think I knit the size 8, 7, 8 maybe? Or maybe 6, 7. I don't know. It's one size up from the size I knit him previously. I really love it. It's so sweet. Anyway, he looks really cute in it because he has like caramely brown eyes, kind of like golden brown, and this color really brings that out. Disappointing. that was my flax light. Then I finished some socks. These have been worn, so they're a little stretched out. These are the rugby stripe colorway of the Knit Picks Hawthorne sock reels. Just a vanilla sock pattern, 64 stitches. They're for me. It's kind of a faded rainbow color. They're really cute. I didn't particularly enjoy knitting from the sock reels. I ended up frogging it and balling it up. And I almost wish I had frogged it and washed it, because I think these turned out a little bit big because it was all like wavy yarn. So I have one more to knit from. And I think it's called like Sun Bleached Stripe. And I think what I'll do is I'll frog out of the little sock reel, wash it, let it hang to dry, and then knit socks out of it so that I don't end up with socks that are too big for me. Just a pro tip if you are wanting to use the sock reels. Okay, then the next one, oh, I did do a test knit for someone new. Okay, so the next one was a test knit for Tyne, who is the Cleverest Stitch, and it was called the Cheshire Cat Shawl. This one was a gift for my niece for her birthday / Christmas. I haven't decided, but I need to send the other gift. So for one of said things, she has a birthday right at the Christmas time. So I knit it out of gold and gray. So I don't have the finished object, but I will obviously insert a picture. It's a crescent shawl. I've showed it on the podcast that my mom was here visiting because I sent it back with her. So I've never seen it blocked because I didn't block it. So I finished it while she was here, like the day before she was going to leave. So there wouldn't have been time for it to dry. And I didn't want her to have anything wet in her suitcase in case if for whatever reason her luggage went astray and got reunited with her later. Didn't want it to be full of moldy clothes. And my sister is a knitter and my mom is a knitter, so they can block a shawl. They don't need me to do that. So yeah, that one was really fun. Although by the end, I think I had well over 500 stitches on my needles, and that was not fun. My only modification was I omitted the picot bind off because I didn't think my niece would like that. She's not a super frilly person, so, and a picot bind off is a little extra. And I probably wouldn't have finished it in time if I had done the picot bind off as well, because picot bind offs take forever. They're worth it, but they take forever. All right. Then I did a test knit for Selma Knits, who has the Little Big Knits podcast on YouTube. She published the Westboro hat, and I knit this out of a skein of Destination yarns in the Have You Tried the Fried Cheddar curds, along with a skein of it's an alpaca silk blend. It's a commercial yarn. And the only modification I did is I did an extra set of the bobble repeat because I didn't feel like it was long enough for me. My idea here was sometimes I wear my hair in like little buns, and I don't have very many hats that will fit over that hairdo. So I wanted this one to be a hat for that particular hairdo. So it's pretty slouchy. It's very warm. And if I wanted to, I could turn up the brim and, wear it more as a beanie. But yeah, it's really warm. It's really soft. I love it. Definitely could recommend the pattern. It is a nice, fun knit So that's the Westboro hat by Selma. Then I did my test knit for Meg, which was the pumpkin patch sweater, and it is also published now on Ravelry. This is one of my, Ravelry Ribbler, and I think she also has it in her shop that you can buy PDF patterns. This is one of my most worn knits. It's my only DK weight sweater until I finish my last unicorn sweater. I love it so much. So this one is knit out of Plies and Hellhounds Nightmares Plus 10 is the main color. This nice dark charcoal gray. The pumpkin color is Juniper Moon Farms in the cinnamon colorway. The variegated like cranberry-ish color here is Lavender Loon Yarn Co. in Seance. And then this one is No Makers Party Gnome in the Present Locator colorway, held double with Knit Picks alpaca lace weight to get to a DK weight. And it's like a tweed. There's only a couple places where you can really tell it's a tweed, but it has like pink, yellow, and blue flecks, tweed flecks. I love this sweater so much. It's so pretty, and it fits so nicely. My only modification here was I added waist shaping. Gabby does have this colorway in her shop very regularly, so if you're interested, Nightmares Plus 10 is a staple in her shop. It's a great, like, not quite black, but it works as a black. Meg added a chart to the pattern for this color scheme, so if you want to follow along and do a similar color scheme, it's in the pattern. And there's also a cowl if you're not feeling ambitious enough to do a sweater yet. The cowl just has, you know, the pumpkin motif. All right, we're almost to the end, guys. Then I did a pair of socks I don't have with me because Josh just washed all his socks, but I finished a pair of socks for Josh too. They are in the dark and gloomy colorway on the Marie Cutie base from Once Upon a Corgi. It is a Corriedale base, and it's like a light blue with speckles of navy and like a coffee brown. So I'll insert a picture as well. They fit really well, and I'm interested to see how the Corriedale nylon wears for Josh. I have two other skeins of that, one in the Warm and Cozy and one in Because Pumpkin Spice. So those are earmarked as socks for Josh, but I want to see how the first pair wears. I've heard good things about Corriedale nylon, so I'm hopeful. Then I knit the mini Last Unicorn sweater for Megwin. So each of the kids got at least one new sweater this year. Oh no. Is that like a pole? Hang on. This could be bad. This could be really bad. Like a pulled stitch or hole? No, I think it's just like pulled weird. Yeah, okay, now it's fine. Just caught on something, I think. Okay. This main color is Classic Elite 150, some sort of green. It's a discontinued yarn. And I originally bought it to make so I bought this yarn to make a baby sweater for Megwin, so I guess she got a sweater out of it, but many years later. And I used basically all of this yarn except for maybe 10 yards. It was a squeaker. I was a little bit worried I wasn't going to get a full sweater out of this. And I made the sleeves as long as I possibly could and the body as long as I possibly could. So hopefully she'll be able to wear it next year as well. We'll see. The contrast colors I used were just various ones from my stash. So these were just ones she picked out of my stash to make the rainbow. This is a Crystal Palace Yarns Bunny Hop, which I think is also a discontinued yarn, in the white. And then this one is it's an Australian yarn that Mel, who is Woman in a Shoe, sent to me in a itty bitty knits swap that we did like years ago. And she was my partner, so she sent me some skeins of like different fibers that I've never tried before. So I think this one is like a merino camel blend. But yeah, I don't remember the name of the yarn company, but it is a either New Zealand or Australian yarn company that I did the hearts with. So it truly was an all stash sweater, and Megwin loves it. I was able to finish it in time for her to wear to an outdoor movie party, you know, socially distanced quarantine times. So like they had sleeping bags, and she had this nice wool sweater and her snowsuit. And she was warm enough with just this under her snowsuit. So it's super cute, and she really loves it. And then I made socks for Joshua, kind of interspersed throughout. I managed 4 pairs for him, 2 of which are West Yorkshire spinners. So these are the ones I finished last night. These are my final finished object of 2020, knit out of leftovers of the first West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas colorway. I have a matching pair with the contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs. I have them on my feet right now, so you can see it's the same yarn. But it's essentially the same pattern that I did for all of his. I made a matching pair for him that were leftovers from Josh's socks in the mallard colorway. I also made him a pair from some, I don't know what colorway, from Bad Wolf Girl Studios, but it's on her like glitter base. Those are the ones that started it all. Then I made a pair out of Knit Picks Felici in the hamburger colorway, and those I think also look very festive and Christmas colors. So yeah, 4 pairs of socks for Joshua. They're 60 stitch socks, so my hope is that as he grows, I'll be able to just remove the toe and extend the foot, and they'll become like ankle socks with a longer foot, because I can wear 60 stitch socks. So before I finish off the toe, like up to here, I can put these socks on, and they're just ankle socks for me. So hopefully he'll get a lot of wear out of them. They're a little big on him right now, but with the ribbing, they do actually stay on his legs. So yeah. Then I finished an everyday lined hat again by Denise Bayron. I have not woven in ends yet, as you can see, but this was a Christmas knit. This one is out of Knit Picks Felici Worsted, which was my first time ever working with that base, in the Rustic Cabin colorway, which is like a muted rainbow with brown. So I haven't put the lining in yet, but that's the idea. I'm going to put a chocolate brown pom-pom on this one, because I've had one in reserve for a while for the kids. and I want to stop having it sit on my shelf. It needs to be on a hat. Okay, and then to go with this, I made the tinsel mittens, also by Andrea Mowry. So for this year, I made a ton of Andrea Mowry stuff, and I did not make any Joji Locatelli stuff, despite purchasing a bunch of her patterns. So I do need to get on that. But the tinsel mittens are a pattern by Andrea Mowry. They have an option for a flip top. They have an option for fingerless mitts, and they have all the sizes from baby up through men's adult size. So it's a family pattern, very similar to Tin Can Knits. The feature is this slip stitch motif going down both sides. These have actually felted a little bit, which is kind of good because I think that makes mittens warmer. I could only find one to show you, but I essentially used all the leftovers of this yarn and I knit them 2 at a time, which I abhor and I will not do again. But that way I could run completely out. So they're different colors. So the other mitten has this stripe, and then this one has like the warm colors. So the other one has the white, blue, and brown. Yeah. And then what I did is I used a skein of Tahoe yarns, or is it Voyager yarns in the Tahoe base, in just like a brown that I had laying around. This is a DK weight yarn, but I think it worked fine in terms of gauge. That's why it's felting, because it is non-superwash, so it's gonna felt. I've used it previously for color work, and it does get very warm as it felts, so they're gonna become quite solid and warm, but that's great for the top, the finger part. I want it to be nice and warm and solid. And obviously the Knit Picks Felici is really nice and soft. They complained that they were too itchy, but I think now that it's felted a little bit, it's really nice. So that's the tinsel mittens and the everyday lined hat. Then the last thing before the grand finale was the firefighter hat. This was a sockhead hat that I cast on when I was doing a lot of traveling in 2019. And then I got really sick my last trip of 2019, and I wanted nothing to do with this hat because it was the only thing I could knit on. But I kind of didn't want to touch it. So this Christmas, I was like, okay, I'm going to finish it because I wanted it for Joshua. I wanted to match his coat. Both he and Megwin have red coats with like black accents. My idea there is that when Megwin grows out of her coat, he can have her coat and she can size up to another coat. They're both really nice, like North Face coats. And they can both wear this hat as well. So this is also out of Knit Picks Felici, but in the fingering weight. This is the Firefighter colorway. I just made the sock head slightly smaller, but it has the nice big ribbing that I always do on my sock heads. I can wear this hat, as can Josh, so it is still a family hat. It's just not as slouchy as some of my other sock heads are, so I can't double up the brim for me if I'm wearing it, but otherwise I can totally wear this hat. It's nice, it's comfortable, it's warm. Joshua can wear it and fully roll it up and have it be a beanie, and it fits his head really well as well. I do have a black pom-pom for this, but he hasn't asked me to put it on. He did ask me to line it though, so I'm going to see if I can use the lining pattern from the Everyday Lined Hat and just shorten it, because I wouldn't want it to be lined more than to like there. Otherwise, that eliminates the ability for him to double up the brim and have that double thickness over his ears. And now, for the item that I forgot to write into my list. I don't think I've shared it on the podcast, and I finished it, and it's been a whip for the entire time I've podcasted. It is my 10-stitch blanket by Frankie Brown. I knit it out of Cascade Eco Duo in the zebra colorway. I don't believe that Cascade Eco Duo is still being produced, but this colorway is not. So I would like to get another skein or two. Story behind this blanket: if you have not been with me for my entire podcast, or if you joined me later and didn't feel like going back to the beginning, and I don't blame you, I was not very good and my video quality wasn't the greatest because I used my laptop. But this was yarn that I got in a stash dive from my mom's knitting circle back in Ohio. Somebody had knit the front panel of a sweater and one sleeve, and then they threw that plus lots of other skeins of this gorgeous yarn into the stash dive. So I got it completely free. It was like 14 skeins of this, and then I did purchase one skein to round out the blanket. And it's awesome. So I'm going to stand up. This thing has been through everything with me. I knit on it when Megan was in the hospital after she had her fall. I knit on it when I was in labor with Joshua. The whole time I was home with him on maternity leave. Just all the years that my kids have gone through, the 5 years that I have podcasted, because I started podcasting when Joshua was born. Yeah, I started podcasting when he was born. It was when my stepsister passed away in a car accident. That's what made me start podcasting. So, yeah, this is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I can't show it in all its glory, but I do have it on Instagram. So you start in the middle and you work your way out in a thing, doing like short row corners. It is my couch blanket. I use it all the time. And it has all the ends woven in. I wove in the ends today for this podcast so that there would be no ends. I also went and trimmed like a lot of the pills because it is a 50-50 blend of wool alpaca. So it does pill. I don't care. It's so soft. I don't even care. And it's so pretty. And I love it. It's like a beautiful hug all the time that I have on me. Whenever I'm in my craft room, it sits on the side of the couch, or it's somewhere on the couch. Yeah, I love it. It turned out wonderful. I would never knit a sweater out of this. It would be so heavy and so hot, but it makes a glorious blanket. So that was my finished object at some point in quarantines. I don't know exactly when I finished it, but I love it, and I wanted to make sure that I chronicled that I did in fact finish the blanket that started it all. It's done. So that was all my finished objects for 2020, and yeah, for 2021 I have posted in my Instagram grid like more of concepts, not specific patterns, but I kind of liked that idea more of just saying knit something with eyelets, something with cables, something from your long-term queue, something with color work. So I think that will be more motivating for my my make 9. So yeah, I think it was Nicole SP Designs that I got it from, and she had a lot of different ones that were like ideas for knitters and crocheters. So you can go and check those out. And yeah, that is pretty much all that I have to share for this episode. Thank you for everyone who joined me for Vlogmas for this year. It was a lot of fun, even though it's a lot of work too to do daily editing. It was a lot of fun to share a little bit of the behind the scenes with all of you. And thank you to everyone who supported me throughout 2020, who watched my episodes, followed me on Instagram, left a comment on any platform. I read all of them. I don't always respond, but I do read each and every one, and I appreciate all of you. So I hope that you all are safe and that you get to take time to do the things that you love. And here is to a wonderful, crafty 2021. Love you guys. Mwah.